Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to Fly to Freedom. Today, I'm talking about a topic that, honestly, so many of us struggle with, especially in recovery, and that is the phrase, I feel fat. Now, we know theoretically that fat isn't actually a feeling, it's a descriptive term for describing adipose tissue. But when we say it, it feels so real and so consuming and so uncomfortable and just really horrible to sit with. So this episode is for you if you've ever looked in the mirror and felt overwhelmed by shame. If you've eaten something and suddenly your mind starts shouting that you're gaining weight. You find yourself panicking about your body deep down, but you're not even sure what's actually wrong. You're just not okay. And I want you to know from the very start that this is a safe space, a compassionate space, one where we are gently going to peel back the layers of what I feel fat is really about. Because I promise you, it's never just about your body. It's about emotion, about protection, about pain, and also about healing. Because when we learn how to feel what's really going on beneath that I feel fat feeling, everything begins to change. And that's why I've created something brand new for you, a completely free guide on my website called 5 Feelings That Fuel Your Eating Disorder and How to Navigate Them. It's not about analysing your thoughts. It's about reconnecting with your body's emotional truth so that you can stop spiraling into body shame and start healing from the inside out. You can download it at juliadrahane.com or click the link in the show notes. And if you're already in the eating disorder recovery circle, you'll know that the Feelings Navigator is one of the most powerful tools we use there. It helps you identify the emotion behind the noise, shows you how to respond with care instead of criticism. It's how we gently retrain the nervous system to feel safe with feeling. So, get comfy, whether you're walking, resting, or curling up with a cup of tea. This one might bring up some big stuff, but it's going to meet you with truth, love, and tenderness. So let's explore the truth between I feel fat and what's really going on. First of all, I just want to tell you that you're not alone. Saying I feel fat is one of the most common things I hear. Not just from clients, but from almost every single person navigating recovery and other people just in society. And if you've said it today, yesterday, or 3 times already this morning, please know that this isn't a failure or a flaw. It's something your brain has learned to say. A coping strategy, a shield, a translation of something deeper. And I know right now you might be thinking, but this time I really do feel fat. I can see it, I can feel it, I can grab it. And I want to honor how real that feels because it is real. It's not just in your head. It's in your nervous system. It's in your past, in your wiring. It's in all the times restriction became the way you coped with pain. You see, when we say, I feel fat, we're often saying, I feel like I'm not coping. Because for so long, coping meant controlling. Coping meant shrinking. Coping meant staying busy, staying empty, staying rigid, staying small. Restriction became your armor. It kept the feelings at bay. It gave you a false sense of success, of strength, of being good. So when your body starts to change in recovery, and it has to, your brain goes into panic mode. It sees softness, fullness, or any kind of expansion, and it sets out the alarm. You're not coping, you're failing. And that's not because your body is bad. It's because your brain is still holding on to an old rule that thin equals safe, thin equals in control. So the moment your body begins to let go of that old identity, your brain scrambles around to make sense of it, and it grabs the phrase it knows. I feel fat. You might eat a bit more than usual and instantly feel the fabric of your clothes pressing against your skin. Cue the mental flood. This is too much. I've gone too far. I'm out of control. What if I never stop gaining? But what's really happening here is that you're starting to feel again. Because in recovery, when you stop numbing with starvation or distraction or over-exercise, real feelings start surfacing. Feelings you may not have had words for. Feelings that were too big to feel when you were younger, too painful to acknowledge at the time. Grief, rage, fear, loneliness, vulnerability. And that's terrifying, especially when you've always coped by not feeling at all. So instead of saying, I feel afraid, I feel sad, I feel like I've lost control, your brain takes a shortcut, one it's used 1,000 times before. I feel fat. It's a phrase that sounds concrete, like something you could fix if you just worked harder. It gives you a familiar target, your body, instead of facing the raw discomfort of being human. And let's not forget the world we live in, the culture that praises restriction as discipline, that idolizes smallness, that labels weight gain as weakness. So of course your brain associates not being thin with not coping. You've been taught this over and over again. But that doesn't mean it's true. Your ability to nourish yourself, to rest, to let your body change and grow and expand, that's real coping. That's actual strength. And it's new, which is why it feels so unsafe right now. What you're experiencing isn't failure. It's a nervous system that's adjusting. It's a protective part of your brain that doesn't yet know how to say, I'm overwhelmed, I feel too much, I miss the numbness, I'm scared of being visible. So it says, I feel fat. But feeling fat is not a feeling, it's a translation error. It's your brain trying to communicate that something deeper is going on, but it hasn't learned the language yet. And that's why this matters. Because when you're stuck in the loop, body checking, mirror scanning, poking, grabbing, spiraling through old photos, hating everything in your wardrobe, you're not failing at recovery, you're feeling. And your brain is trying to cope in the only way it knows how. But now you're learning new ways. You're learning how to actually cope, not by shrinking, but by expanding into the fullness of your emotional experience. You don't have to fix it all today. You don't have to perfectly name every feeling, but you can start to notice that I feel fat is your body and brain waving a flag that says, hey, something's coming up, please listen. And you're safe enough now to begin listening. So let's really sit with this now. Fat is not a feeling. It's not an emotion. It's not a mood. It's not a state of mind. It's a neutral descriptor of the human body, just like tall or short, freckled or brown-eyed. But in a world that has weaponized the word fat, stripped it of all its neutrality, and buried it beneath shame, fear, and judgment, it's no wonder that when we say, I feel fat, it comes with an avalanche of emotion. But the truth is that what you're feeling is not a fat. What you're feeling is something else, something deeper, something human. Maybe it's shame, the kind of shame that crawls under your skin when you eat more than the old rules allowed, when you rest instead of moving, when you see a part of your body softening and your mind screams, you've gone too far. Maybe it's fear. Fear that if you let go fully, you'll never stop. Fear that you'll be judged, abandoned, rejected, and unloved. Fear that if your body changes, your worth will vanish with it. Maybe it's sadness, a grief you don't know how to name, for the years you lost chasing thinness, for the identity you tied to being in control, for the fantasy version of recovery where your body would heal without having to change. Maybe it's loneliness, the ache of being misunderstood, of feeling like you're doing something huge and terrifying and brave, and no one around you truly sees it. Maybe it's disgust, but not with your body, disgust with how vulnerable you feel, with how you can't seem to snap out of it, with how much energy it takes to eat a sandwich or sit still for 20 minutes. Whatever it is, that's the real feeling. And if no one taught you how to feel, then of course you default to saying, I feel fat. We don't get taught this stuff growing up. We get taught how to behave, to be nice, to keep the peace, to smile, to be polite, to diet, to achieve. But we don't get taught how to say, I feel small today. I feel unlovable. I feel like I'm losing control and I don't know who I am without it. So your brain picked something, anything, to name that emotional storm, and it landed on fat, because that's what culture told you was bad. It gave you a problem you could try to solve, rather than a feeling you had to sit with. It gave you body shame to focus on instead of emotional pain to feel. That's not weakness, that's trauma. It's a nervous system that learned to reroute pain into something it could measure and fix and chase and punish. But just because it feels familiar doesn't mean it's true. So what if next time the words I feel fat rise up, you pause? What if you took a deep breath and gently asked, what else might be here? What might I really be feeling? Maybe you're feeling vulnerable after being seen in a swimsuit for the first time in years. Maybe you're tired from the effort of pretending to be okay. Maybe you're feeling angry because somebody made a flippant comment about food or your body. Maybe you're just exhausted from trying to hold it all together. I feel fat is not a feeling. It's a flag, a flare your body sends up when something needs tending to. And I want you to know this is not about bypassing or fixing the thought. It's about being with it differently, with more compassion, more curiosity, and less punishment. That's why I created the 5 feelings that fuel your eating disorder guide. Because this moment, this exact moment of feeling overwhelmed by the body and disconnected from your emotional truth, is where the rewiring begins. When you start identifying what's underneath and responding to that instead, your body starts to feel safer, your mind starts to quieten, and your recovery starts to deepen. And this is also why the feelings navigator inside the eating disorder recovery circle is so powerful. Because when you're not sure what you're feeling or how to be with it or how to stop spiraling into body shame, it gently guides you through that process. Not by asking you to be perfect, but by offering you a map. You were never meant to do this on your own. And now you don't have to. Let's take a deep breath here. Because if you're in recovery and you're noticing that everything suddenly feels louder, more intense, more overwhelming, you're not doing anything wrong. This is recovery. And I want to name something that so often gets missed, even in treatment spaces. Recovery doesn't just bring back your hunger, it brings back your feelings. And when you've spent years, maybe decades like I did, pushing those feelings down with food rules, control, rituals, overthinking, and hypervigilance around your body, those emotions don't go away, they wait. And when the restriction stops, they come flooding back. This is where things can feel really overwhelming because the thing that used to work, restriction, is no longer on the table. The coping mechanism you used for everything, boredom, anger, grief, shame, anxiety, exhaustion, is now the very thing you're trying not to go back to. And without it, you're left with yourself. You sit with your meal, maybe for the first time ever you notice that underneath the food fear is sadness. When you finally rest and your mind starts to race, it's not just about your body, but about your past, your relationships, your worth. Or you reach a milestone like letting go of the scales, and instead of pride, you feel panic. You think, why do I feel worse? And it's because recovery peels off the numbness. It takes away the buffer and it brings you back to your raw, unedited, fully feeling self. And yes, that's bloody terrifying, especially when you never learned how to be with yourself in that state. So your brain, still trying to keep you safe, reaches for what it knows. It says, quick, focus on the body. That's a familiar problem. If we fix the body, everything will feel better. And this isn't a mistake, it's not sabotage, it's actually protection because your brain doesn't know yet that it's safe to feel. It doesn't know yet that you can hold emotional pain without falling apart. It doesn't know yet that you are strong enough, supported enough, and ready enough to meet the parts of you spent your lifetime running from. And so it tries to distract you. It throws you into thoughts like, my stomach looks bigger, my arms look bigger, I shouldn't have eaten that, I need to start tracking again. I'll feel better once I lose this weight. But sweetheart, you've been there, you've tried that route, and you know where it leads. And here's where real change begins. When you notice that your brain is pulling you toward body thoughts. When you realize that your urge to restrict is a sign of emotional discomfort, not physical wrongness. When you pause instead of spiraling, you're changing the pattern. You're showing your nervous system, we don't have to run anymore. We can stay. This feeling might be big, but it's not dangerous. We are not going to punish the body for having emotions. And this is deep work. It's the work of trauma healing, not just behavior change, and it's why so many people get stuck, because they think recovery is just about food and weight, but it's actually about learning how to feel and stay. It's why people say to me, I thought I'd feel better once I was weight restored, but now I just feel everything all at once. And I say, yes, sweetheart, that means you're doing it. You're not broken, you're waking up. And I know that might not sound like good news when you're in the middle of it, when all you want to do is not feel. When your old self whispers, just go back. It was easier then. But easier doesn't mean better. Numb doesn't mean peace, and smaller doesn't mean healed. Recovery is not about going backwards. It's about learning a whole new way forward. And that begins by understanding that your I feel fat thoughts are not the enemy. They're the smoke, not the fire. They're the sign that something's stirring, and now finally, you're in a place where you can turn towards it instead of away. So now we come to the part of the episode where I want to offer you something different. Because when you say I feel fat, what you're really saying is I feel something I don't know yet how to hold. And in that moment, when the shame is loud, the panic is rising, the urge to restrict or check or hide is screaming. It's so easy to fall back into old patterns. But you don't have to. You can meet that moment with something new, something loving, and something that actually helps. Let me walk you through a process. A gentle practice you can begin using when those I feel fat thoughts hit hard. It doesn't require perfection, it just asks for presence. So, step 1, pause. Stop whatever you're doing. even just for a moment. Notice that the thought has arrived and name it internally. This is an I feel fat moment. You don't need to judge it. You don't need to argue with it. Just bring awareness to it. Awareness is incredibly powerful and it disrupts the automatic spiral. So if you're standing in front of the mirror or pulling up your clothes or suddenly overwhelmed after eating, pause, put your hand on your heart or your tummy or both, and take a breath. That's enough for now. Step 2 is ask, what else is here? Gently, without demanding an answer because you might not have one straight away, but just wonder. What else might be here? What might I really be feeling? You don't need to analyze or fix, just feel. Maybe there's fear, maybe there's grief, maybe you're overwhelmed or overstimulated or lonely. This is where the feelings navigator inside the recovery circle can be a lifeline because it gives you language for what's going on and helps you understand what that feeling is asking from you. Not what your body should do, but what your inner self needs. And if you're using the free guide, 5 feelings that fuel your eating disorder, this is a perfect moment to flip it open. Use it to explore what your body might be trying to say. Because behind the I feel fat feeling, there is always something tender. Step 3. Soothe the feeling, not the body. This is the radical part. When you think you need to fix your body, ask instead, what would soothe this feeling? Not how can I lose weight or get back in control, but how can I meet this emotion with kindness? If it's sadness, can you cry, rest, let someone know? If it's fear, can you hold yourself, use grounding tools, and speak gently to your inner child? If it's shame, can you remind yourself that you've done nothing wrong? You're not trying to make the feeling go away. You're building trust with yourself. You're showing your nervous system that emotions are safe to feel. Step 4, compassion. This is where reparenting begins. When your inner critic says you're disgusting, can you speak back with truth? You're not disgusting, you're full of feeling. Your worth is not based on your body. You're doing something incredibly brave by choosing recovery. It makes sense that you feel overwhelmed, sweetheart. I'm here. I've got you. And if that feels too hard, imagine saying it to a younger version of you. The little girl or teen inside who never learned how to feel safely. Talk to her. Because the one who says, I feel fat, is not bad or wrong. She's hurting. And she's asking for someone, you, to meet her with love, not punishment. Step 5 is stay. This might be the hardest step of all, but also the most healing. Stay with the feeling. Don't run. Don't numb. Don't jump into action. Just stay. This is the moment where the rewiring happens, where you show your body we're not going to abandon ourselves anymore, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels endless. Feelings pass, always. They rise and they fall like waves. The more often you stay, the more safety your nervous system begins to feel. And I want you to know you don't have to do this alone. Inside the eating disorder recovery circle, we walk through these moments together. The feelings navigator is there when your brain is in chaos and you need clarity. And if you're working with me one-to-one, this is the deep work we do together. Rewiring the parts of you that learn to cope through control and teaching your system how to feel, soothe, and return to self-trust. You're not broken for feeling fat. You're not behind. You're not weak. You are feeling. And feeling means you're healing. And there's something really important I want to say here, and it's this. You were never meant to do this alone. When you've been carrying the belief that I feel fat is just your private shame, when you've been sitting in front of the mirror, spiraling in your head, convinced that no one else could possibly think the things you think or feel the way you feel, when you've spent years hiding the depth of your pain because it felt too much, too messy, too irrational, that isolation becomes part of the eating disorder. It convinces you that this struggle is yours to bear in silence, that no one would understand, that you're too sensitive, too dramatic, too selfish, too broken. But what I've learned personally and through the many women I've supported, the moment you share the thought, it starts to lose its power. The moment you say out loud, I'm having a feel fat day, and someone responds not with judgment, but with compassion, a change happens in your nervous system. You go from shame to shared humanity. From I'm the only one to me too. And this is one of the reasons why I created the Eating Disorder Recovery Circle. Because I saw over and over again how much healing happens when people are seen. When someone says, I hate my body today, and someone else says, I had that yesterday, want to talk about what's underneath. It's not about fixing each other. It's about witnessing. It's about reminding each other that our thoughts are not facts, that our feelings are worthy of care. Inside the circle, we don't just talk about food or weight. We go deeper. We get curious. And when someone says, I feel fat, we ask, what's really going on, sweet pea? What happened before this thought came up? What might this be protecting you from? And then suddenly the energy shifts. Because when you speak your truth in a safe space and someone else holds it without trying to fix you, you learn something profound. That there was not anything wrong with you. That you are just trying to survive in a world that never taught you how to feel. And that is what the circle is for. It's not just accountability or education, it's connection. A place you can take off the mask where you can cry or rage or spiral or show up with your hair a mess and in your pajamas and say, I just need someone to remind me that I'm okay today. And within that, we use tools like the Feelings Navigator to actually practice this new way of being. To name what's underneath the I feel fat thought. To feel it, to move through it with compassion instead of self-punishment. Because doing that on your own is possible, yes, but it's so much harder. When you're alone in your head, it's so easy to get stuck in the loop. But when someone says, I hear you, I've been there, you're safe. That's when rewiring happens. That's when the shame begins to lift. That's where the recovery voice gets louder. That's where you realize I'm not broken. I'm not too much. I'm just human. And you deserve that. Not just once or twice, but every single day. So let's just take a breath. If you've listened this far, I want to say something straight to your heart. You are not too much. Your feelings are not too much. Your pain, your fear, your spirals, your shame, your exhaustion, none of it makes you broken. It makes you human. And your body's not the problem. Your body is not betraying you. It's not disgusting or out of control. It's not shameful. Your body is simply the place where your unspoken emotions have been living. When you say, I feel fat, what you're really saying is, I feel overwhelmed and this is the only language I was ever taught. But now you're learning a new language, the language of feeling, the language of staying, the language of choosing self-love. Not fluffy, filtered kind, but fierce, grounded, honest kind that says, even when this is hard, I will not abandon myself. Even when the old thoughts scream, I will choose nourishment. Even when I want to run, I will sit with myself and say, I've got you. And that's what this whole journey is about. If you're ready to start naming the feelings underneath and you want a simple free guide to go through it, please go to my website and download the 5 feelings that fuel your eating disorder and how to navigate them. It's short, it's gentle, and it's designed to help you make sense of those messy, I feel fat days, one step at a time. And if you're craving a space where you don't have to do this alone, where your feelings are met with compassion and guidance, not judgment, come and join us inside the Eating Disorder Recovery Circle. The Feelings Navigator is there, waiting for you, along with live support, courses, workshops, daily chat, and a community of women that get it. And if you know deeper in your gut that you're ready for more personal focused support, if you're ready to go deeper and truly transform the way you relate to yourself, reach out about one-to-one coaching. You don't have to do this in silence anymore. Wherever you are today, whatever your body feels like, whatever the voice in your head is saying, please know that you are not failing. You are becoming. And this moment, right here, right now, is part of your healing. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for being brave. And I'll see you again in the next episode. Until then, take care and lots of love.